Do you house an immigrant?
Absolutely. If I had space, I would.
If I had space.
We should house an immigrant. The government.
What does that
Fed,
mean?
clothed, watered, housed. Just like we cost money. Who should pay for them?
The
I
government.
don't really know. I guess,
The government, say it.
I don't know, people who want to help out.
Or maybe the government have a bit of money they can sort of give to these charities
Bro, what?
to help them
Why do
out.
all these students have copy-paste answers? Like,
Asking students questions about immigration and refugee status. So if someone arrives in Britain illegally, are they a refugee?
Yeah, I think isn't that
No.
isn't anyone arriving in England from any country, whether legally
Yes.
or illegally, aren't they then a refugee?
Yes.
I can't say I know way too much on the matter, but I know obviously that there's been quite a few crises, and I think I think everyone should be welcome, is what I'm trying to say. I don't think it should be made illegal to be a refugee.
If someone were to enter Britain illegally, does that make them a refugee?
Oh well, okay. We don't really know the definition of refugee, so we can't entirely say that they are or they aren't. So
Yeah, because they've been forced out their country due to war, so they have come to us for safety, even if it is illegally.
the problem I have with a lot of these students is that they don't own anything. And a lot of them don't really make enough to where they're paying a substantial amount of taxes. And hear me out. The reason I'm saying this is because when you have these type of debates on having, safety and having shelter within your homeland, once you start paying taxes, you realize, wow, a lot of my money is going away. But if they're coming here, a lot of their money is not going away. And you're not wrong for saying that, because you want equality. And this is where it all roots from. It literally roots from equality. You're like, yeah, they could come here, but I just want them to experience the same taxation that I'm experiencing. And apparently saying that is like a off the wall take. And a lot of these students, since they aren't really at that stage in life yet, and I'm a student, so I can relate to them, don't understand that. They don't understand that one thing. Like, you're literally paying for them to be here. You're paying for everything, but you're paying for them to be here. Other adults. Just look at it like that, and you may have a change in perspective, you may not, but just entertain that perspective.
No, not necessarily.
Okay. It sounds like you might know what you're talking about in terms of the legal aspect.
Partly, yes. I think so. Mostly, yes. Probably.
Okay, so if someone enters, we are an island after all. We have an advantage there. So if you are arriving illegally, that doesn't necessarily make you a refugee, no?
No.
If someone arrives in Britain illegally, does that make them a refugee?
I would say so.
Entering Britain illegally, refugees, because the country's divided.
Yeah.
Okay, who should house the refugee if that's true? Who should house them?
Anyone? What?
Is it the job of the government?
The council.
The council?
Yeah.
The government.
Yeah. Anyone willing to take them in.
Okay. Would you house an immigrant, for example?
Not right now at uni, obviously, but when once we're qualified, then yeah, go on then. If I've got a spare room, no one's going to use it.
Sure, makes sense.
Yeah, if I had the facility to do so.
Go. Who should pay for refugees in that respect?
Ding, 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 ding. And that was the golden... And I'm not saying this to judge these students, but that was the golden line. If I had the facilities to do so, which I kind of alluded to earlier. A lot of these students don't have the facilities to do so. A lot of people in general don't have the facilities to do so. But when you're coming from the perspective that, oh, someone will do it, it's kind of like a childlike mentality. Like when you're hungry, when you're a kid, and you're like, well, my mom and daddy will give me some food. You don't know how they're going to get it. You don't know how they're going to pay for it. You just know that it's going to show up somehow on your plate. And that's kind of the mentality they have when these comes to these situations. But you have to realize that you're also an adult, that you're going to be the one paying for it, that you're going to be the one having to, house or whatever. And just look at it from that perspective. Even if you do agree that refugees should come, just look at it from the perspective of you're going to have to do it. Not someone will have to do it. You will have to do it.
Correct. Just like you and I cost X amount per day to be clothed, housed, fed, etc.
I would say the government, but the government's...
No, but it's a fair answer though. The government, there's three answers, I think. Government's one.
I mean, realistically, the other thing here is, obviously, the government is one of the ones that would, but again, they get their money from us anyway, so in a roundabout way, we're paying for it.
Sure.
But then you think about the other kind of big places that money is stored in the UK is one in the monarchy, and two just in large businesses. Realistically, there should be some way for that they should be kind of responsible for it, especially where you think about the monarchy. In theory, it's above Parliament, it's above the government. Realistically, with their wealth and kind of outreach, they should be able to do more about it.
Would you house an immigrant? If you had the facility, sorry. Obviously, you have to have the facility.
Yeah, no, being a student, I don't have anywhere. I've barely got enough room for myself. But yes, if I had the facilities to, then yes.
Yeah, same. People are people at the end of the day. We're social creatures.
Oh my goodness.
Why wouldn't you?
Would you house an immigrant?
If I had the option, I would.
So again, arriving illegally, classifying them as a refugee, who should fund that?
Oh, I mean, I think before we start housing refugees, we should sort out the homeless issue in England, and the government should be doing that.
That was a good answer. And I was actually kind of shocked, because here's the thing. I don't just put delusional students in the title to be insulting. That's not the case at all. A lot of these students are genuinely delusional. She is the first one in this video that I've seen say a real life answer, because a lot of the other answers usually were followed by, well, if I had, or if I did, or if I... So they're basically not even living in real life. Not realizing that you are an adult right now. You have to pay taxes today. It's no ifs, ands, or buts. The IRS will come after you if you do not pay taxes. So what do you mean if? If you had the facilities, you would do it, but you don't have the facilities. Okay, now what? You still want them in here in the country? You can't just ignore reality. And she's the first one to say, yeah, we should probably look at our problems first. That's reality. Like, why do a lot of these students refuse to live in real life? It's a real question. If anyone has an answer, let me know.
So many empty buildings in England that can be used, but the government just don't.
But who should fund it? So taxpayer?
Yeah.
Through taxation?
No.
Yeah.
I don't think
What do you think, Casey? What do you think, Casey? Because the money's got to come from somewhere, right?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I think it should come from the people in the government, because they don't tax themselves and they get a ridiculous amount of money and the taxpayer doesn't. So I think they should maybe tax themselves and then use money from their massive wage to help everyone else.
I think when it comes to immigrants, I think when it comes to who should pay for it, that's kind of weird. That's kind of weird, bro. It should come from their countries, the people who are coming here. Their countries should pay for it, because if you're an illegal, like he said, illegal immigrant, that means you're not paying taxes. So that means every dollar that you would make in America, you're literally not paying taxes on it because you're not a citizen. So that means that those people who are paying taxes are literally paying for you to be here. They're paying for your housing. They're paying for everything. So we need that return as citizens. Am I wrong? We need that return. So that return should come from somewhere. It should come from your homeland if you're not going to pay for it. So if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. What do you think should happen?
Don't need it.
No, it's fair enough. Would you house an immigrant?
Absolutely. If I had space, I would.
If I had space.
And what about illegal immigrants? Who should pay for those? They arrive here illegally. Who should pay for them?
Must be government as well, because I wouldn't know where else to put it.
Government? Where do you think the government gets their money?
It's an incredibly expensive operation.
The government has to expect, if they have a strong economy, they have to expect that people will try and get into that country. So, I work in a bar, right? I'm a student. I I'm just trying to live my life, right? So I don't think that financial burden should be on me because I am giving money to the government for them to deal with things like that.
Through taxation, we should house an immigrant.
The government.
What does that
Typically,
mean?
that would be done through taxation rather than their own money.
Yes.
Would you house a refugee?
If I had the resources, I would.
Again, depends on my circumstances.
Once they're here, they need to be fed, clothed, watered, housed. Just like we cost money, who should pay for them?
The
I
government.
don't really know. I guess,
The government, say it.
no, people who want to help out.
Charities?
Donation?
Yeah, or maybe the government have a bit of money they can sort of give to these charities
Bro, what?
to help them out, or just families that want to take them in.
Why do all these students have copy-paste answers? Like, college is supposed to be like the place where the highest form of learning and conversation is being held in America. Because you're supposed to have the brightest minds having these diverse debates and perspectives on issues, but every student is saying the same thing and none of their answers make much sense. You don't want to pay taxes on it. It's not even getting that deep. You don't even know where the money's coming from. You just say the government as if the government doesn't operate off of taxes. You all say that you would host an immigrant if you had the resources. You make sure to slip that line in because you don't have the resources now. So it's easy to say if you had them, you would do it. But you're not doing it. You haven't even thought critically enough to know how it would get done. But you know it should be done. Like, come on now. This is insane. This is actually hard to watch.
And help them out themselves.
So the most common answer would be charity, government, but where does the majority of the money come from to pay for anything ever? Taxation, right?
Yeah.
Amongst a populace. So would you be happy with housing people who arrived illegally under the possible definition that they may be refugees? Would you be okay with taxpayer money funding that?
No.
Depends how much and like how it comes out and stuff, I guess. I don't really know. I don't really know much to say anything, if that makes sense.
Sure, but we're making students think.
Yeah.
So for example, you and I, we have unless you're bodybuilding, you have 3 square meals a day, right? You have hot water, electric, clothes. So one question I think is to ask, how much does it cost to be alive as an 18-year-old or 18 to death? How much does it cost per day? Is it £20 a day? Is it £50 a day? Is it £100 a day? Depends on, but basic bare minimum, it's getting students thinking about that. What are your thoughts on that, about taxation and who should pay for, if they were to be classified as refugees coming in illegally, who should pay? Should it be through taxation?
It's hard because obviously not everyone's wanting to help out those refugees, but then obviously most people pay tax and not everyone's going to be happy with like giving a bit of their money to the refugees if they don't want to help.
Would you house an immigrant?
I don't know. I wouldn't.
If you had the facility, of course.
If I had the facilities, probably for a bit until they find a job and stuff. But that's only if I have the facilities. But right now I don't, so I can't really say because like we're a student and stuff. But if I was older, had a family, had a spare room and stuff like that, maybe.
If you were older, you had a family, and you had a spare room, your number one option would be to put a refugee in there. And I'm not saying this to say, oh, you're lying. I just want you to really think about that. Would you really? You may not. I don't know you. I don't think most people would. I think it sounds good to say, but I don't think most people would actually do that. The problem that a lot of people, I believe, have with illegal refugees is that in a perfect world, it makes sense to, host illegal refugees. However, if your country has its own things that it's dealing with, such as homelessness, or your circumstances aren't that good, you're more so focused on your citizens. So when you see someone coming into your country, and a country is a home, it doesn't really make much sense to support citizens of another country in your home. Unless it's a perfect world where your country just has 100% of everything right and everyone is rich and everyone is thriving, then yeah, it makes sense. But the world is not perfect. So Anyways, I'm gonna end this video here. If you have any suggestions, comment down below. LFR Jojo, and I'll see you next time.